You grew up in New Zealand, right? And you weren't going to be an actor to begin with.
No, I was going to be an accountant. And then something hit. And I went on a tour throughout New Zealand with a little amateur, well, it wasn't amateur, it was a little theatrical company which we put together. And New Zealand really hadn't done that sort of thing before. So anyway, we did that, and then I found out that there was a possibility of going to London to study at the Old Vic Theatre School. And I auditioned for it, and I obtained from the government a grant which enabled me to do just that. My mum and dad came up with the passage money and went there, and in the middle of the worst fog I have ever heard, seen or felt since, which was just after the Second World War, remember. Then I spent 2 years at the Old Vic Theatre School learning from some of the greatest, the best experts in movement, presentation, invention, basically the truth of whatever the play would be. I mean, for instance, you take in Hamlet, to be or not to be. What does that mean? What does to be mean? It means to live. To be or not to be. That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. That's a quote from Hamlet. And I did a lot of other stuff. But then after 2 years, my first show was on Broadway, New York. And it was a version of The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens, which I did that. Then I went back to London and went into the provinces and did a different play, playing all sorts of characters for the next, I think it was nearly 2.5 years, a tiny town called Ipswich in Suffolk. And then I went on, and one thing led to another, and I went to Stratford-on-Avon and joined the company then. And so it went on and on and on and on. And this can go on forever, so I think I'll curtail this.
Well, so maybe let's talk about your film work for a second. Do you have any like big standouts? Do you have anything that you really loved to do, any major role?
Well, yes. It's ironic and very sad. I did a picture for Billy Wilder called The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. And then came along and he was doing another film. And we made the film called Avanti, which we shot in Italy. And had a great with Jack Lemmon, Juliet Mills, and myself. And I played an Italian hotel manager. And it was put together very, very beautifully. And it lifted me in, because it was, my role was throughout the film. And it lifted me into a different concept of how to act, or not to act, but to be in front of a camera. And sadly enough, I don't quite know to this day why Avanti was never released by the industry. But that was Billy Wilder.
Wow. Well, let's talk about your voice work for a second. You know, Alfred in Batman, Emperor Palpatine, the original Empire Strikes Back. What were kind of the impetus to get into voice acting, and then maybe talk about those roles a little bit?
Oh, to get into voice acting, of course, you've got to get to the truth of the situation. Because if you can say, over there, and then over there, there's a difference. And you feel it inside, you know it, and if you can use the words, then you can make much more sense. So the truth of the situation and the character does things to the actor when he says, where? And then, where? Or, where? I don't know. It vanished. Thank you. So, do you want to go on?
Yeah, maybe let's talk about the actual recording of the Emperor lines. Like, what was kind of the direction there, or did you just go into the studio for a day and?
No. The story was I think it was number 2, and the director, Irving Kirshner, very marvelous director, and we were great friends. And he said, Clive, I've got a problem down here. I said, so I went down to this recording studio in Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. And I said, what's the problem? And he said, I've got a line here that I want you to think about it. And he said, because it's got to be the right sort of thing. And I said, okay, fine. So he gave me a piece of paper. And I said, Irving, what do you want me to do with this? And he said, think about it, think about it. And he gave me some of the background of the script at that point. And I said, let me think about it, let me think about it. And the Emperor. So I did one. There is a great disturbance in the force. That's the line. And wait a minute. There is a great disturbance in the force. And I said, okay, just a minute. And the third one. There is a great disturbance in the force. And those were the 3 takes, more or less.
Yeah.
Which indicated that the Emperor was not at all happy with the situation.
Right.
Because, as we know, this planet, or whatever it was they were being sent to, was being knocked around, smashed up, and got a lot of thugs and not a lot of love about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's how it went on. Now we're into, is it the sixth version of this?
Yeah, the 7th one just came out, yeah.
7th,
Yeah.
yes. And of course, what has been done is, to elaborate, make it more dramatic,
Yeah.
what have you, bring more situations, characters, and so on into it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the background, and they also brought the Emperor into it and gave it a 3-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
But was which is great, you know. And what? I don't know whether I can add to that.
Yeah,
really.
no, that's great. I think the one thing I just wanted to know, like, you're kind of not new to the convention scene, but it is more of a recent thing. How do you like meeting your fans and meeting all the new Star Wars fans that are coming in, like Star Wars Celebration and all those things? Like,
well, first of all, I mean, I don't know. I look around and I don't know if the group of people here are fans of mine. And I'm not a sort of a fan person because I am me.
Yeah.
And if somebody is polite to me, I'll be polite back. If somebody wants to know something, I will give them a piece of knowledge, or, and if I can say those 3 words or whatever they are. There is a great disturbance in the force. And that was my contribution to
there you go.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much for standing up and talking to us for a second. I really appreciate it. This is Brandon Nerdy with the Emperor for SuperKaiju.com. Thanks a lot.